Morning, including camping. Many of our members are at the CUUF campout up at Squilchuck State Park, but some of us chose to remain here in the valley. We are so glad you chose to be here with us, whether in person or on Zoom. If you are visiting, you are especially welcome. In this church, may you find a place of renewal, a place of peace, a place of community, a place of transformation, a place of inspiration, and especially may you find a place of love and acceptance. My name is Rita Salama. I serve on the worship team, and I'm your celebrant and service leader for this morning. Our service is titled, For the Love of Books. Reverend Thomas Perchlik, our minister, is at Squilchuck State Park, and he's leading a service there titled Coyote Speaks. I don't know about you, but I wish I could be in two places because I'd like to know what that coyote has to say. There are many people who are part of the service today, as you can see from the list on the screen and in your order of service. A big thank you to all of them. And now let us greet the people on Zoom by turning and waving to them. There's a camera right above the door back there. And now let us greet the people around us, especially if it's someone you don't know. So let's. It is so good to be together this morning in all the ways we gather. We are so glad you are here. There are a few announcements that I would like to draw your attention to. There is a circle supper, a potluck, at 5:30 on Saturday at the Mracheks. Everyone's invited, but please RSVP. If you're new to CUUF, this is an especially good way to get to know people in a more relaxed setting. And the CUUF jewelry sale is September 18th through the 20th, and we're accepting donations now. They can be dropped off in the office in the marked white bin. Volunteers are needed for the sale. So for details about these and other announcements, see the emailed newsletter that comes out on Thursday. If you don't receive this, see a greeter to be added to the email list. Yes, back of the chairs. There's another way you can do that. As part of an adult RE class, next slide please. I read, it was led by Reverend Soley. I read the eye-opening book, An Indigenous People's History of the United States. Reading it can lead to a woke experience. And here's an excerpt from that book. Settler colonialism as an institution or system requires violence or the threat of violence to attain its goals. People do not hand over their land, resources, children, and futures without a fight. And that fight is met with violence. In employing the force necessary to accomplish its expansionistic goals, a colonizing regime institutionalizes violence. The notion that settler-indigenous conflict is an inevitable product of cultural differences and misunderstandings, or that violence was committed equally by the colonized and the colonizer, blurs the nature of the historical processes. Euro-American colonization, an aspect of the capitalistic economic globalization, had from its beginnings a genocidal tendency. And later in the book, in a section about the future, she says, how then can U.S. society come to terms with its past? How can it acknowledge responsibility? The late Native historian Jack Forbes always stressed that while living persons are not responsible for what their ancestors did, they are responsible for the society they live in, which is a product of that past. Assuming this responsibility provides a means of survival and liberation. We acknowledge the responsibility for the society that we live in that has been built on a past of colonization, which included genocide and theft of land. Our fellowship is located in the ancestral homeland of the Piscosa, who still live here. We are committed to working with the Piscosa people as they seek to have all their rights recognized and have set funds aside to help them meet their goals, including those of the Indigenous Roots and Reparation Foundation, an Indigenous-led nonprofit established in 2021 to preserve history, culture, traditions, and language through education and advocacy. And now, let us rise in body or spirit to sing our opening song. It's a video, and it is sung by CUUF members with Julie Smith on the piano, and the words will be on the screen. You may be seated. The Unitarian Universalist Association's Article 2, Purposes and Covenant, Section C-2.3, is about inspirations for our religion, such as direct experiences, but also, quote, sacred, secular, and scientific understandings that help us make meaning and live into our values, unquote. And where do these come from? Books, of course. Some quotes about books and reading have been passed out, and if anyone would care to share theirs out loud, just raise your hand and Gary will bring the microphone to you.
One glance at a book and you hear the voice of another person, perhaps someone dead for 1,000 years. To read is to voyage through time.
Carl Sagan. This is by Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. There are many little ways to enlarge your child's world. Love of books is the best of all.
The person who deserves most pity is a lonesome one on a rainy day who doesn't know how to read. Benjamin Franklin.
I used to work at Homesteader Books when it was still in business, and this was the quote on their bookmark they handed out to everyone who purchased a book. And I believe this with all my soul. A room without books is like a body without a soul, by Cicero.
A book is a gift you can open again and again. Garrison Keillor.
Show me a family of readers, and I'll show you people who move the world. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Many people, myself among them, feel better at the mere sight of a book. True for me. That was from Jane Smiley.
Anybody else?
This is by W. Somerset Maugham. To acquire the habit of reading is to construct for yourself a refuge from almost all the miseries of life.
We used to have this on our bulletin board from time to time in the children's department of the library, and it said, "Children are made readers on the laps of their parents," by Emily somebody.
Thank you all for sharing words of wisdom. And to quote again Article 2, Section C, "These sources ground us and sustain us in ordinary, difficult, and joyous times." Each week, we light a chalice. It is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism and is used in UU congregations throughout the world. Today, I'm sharing the banned book Chalice Lighting by Julie Conradic. Then we will speak our standard chalice lighting words in unison as the chalice is lit. We light this chalice remembering the freedoms long established in our nation: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom from the establishment of religion. We light this chalice honoring those who exemplify protecting those freedoms: librarians, booksellers, teachers, authors, journalists. We light this chalice so that by its light we may read all the books. Books with archaic language, books with offensive material, books which affirm the diversity of the human race, books which normalize our varied sexualities, books which share multidimensional perspectives of history. May we bask in the glow of its light this morning as we illuminate, brighten, and radiate because of the books we have read and the books we have yet to read. And now let us say in unison our chalice lighting words. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share. Next slide. Okay. I have always loved books. We didn't have a lot of them in my home when I was growing up, but my parents weren't readers, but they did read to me at least occasionally. And I loved sitting in my dad's lap when he read what we called the funny section of the newspaper. When I was 6 years old, I started first grade, and there I was introduced to my new friends, Dick and Jane. How many of you had those people as your best friends or new friends? Those friends helped me learn to read, a most exciting, wondrous thing to be able to read all by myself. Later, I met some other friends, Tom, Susan, Sally, and Flip the dog, in a book called Under the Apple Tree. They also helped me on my reading journey with such scintillating lines as, "Look out, Flip, look out, look out," and "Up jumped Pony, up, up he jumped." I was in heaven. I loved learning to read so much that years later, when I found Under the Apple Tree in a used bookstore, I had to buy it just so I could, by holding it in my hands, once again, experience the feeling of the joy in learning to read. I hope you all have had that joy, or will have it, because reading can entertain and delight you. It is your means of experiencing new ideas, perspectives, and knowledge. It helps you learn and grow and think independently. Reading is power. We won't be forming our arch this morning. It was a decision at a recent worship team meeting to not have our arch, but we will all sing to the children or child, if so desired, to go to their classes. So let's sing together. Now go with each other to find meaning in the spirit of love that we share. Now go with each other to find meaning in the spirit of love that we share. Yeah. All right. Sometimes we are open books. And sometimes we like to keep the covers closed, and sometimes we let people take a peek inside. This time in our service is set aside for honoring and sharing. If you have something you would like to share, something that weighs heavily on your heart or on your spirit, we hope that by sharing, you may feel heard and supported and maybe a little bit lighter. This is also a time when you may share something that has made your heart sing. We hope by sharing that you will have us singing in our hearts along with you. Remember, only share what you have permission to share and be mindful of the time. As Reverend Soley said, give the Cliff Notes, not the whole novel. Our sharing and honoring time is done with reverence and care and as part of the ministry of our fellowship. The care team coordinates the work of that ministry, and today Stephanie Coe, raise your hand, Stephanie, is a representative from the team. If you know of someone in the congregation that needs help, or if you do, please see Stephanie after the service. You are now welcome to come forward, say your first and last name, briefly share, and then place a stone in the bowl. If you are on Zoom, you may share in the chat, and it will be read aloud. And now let us take a few moments in silent meditation or prayer to connect to the spirit of life that resides within us all. Why do we love books? First of all, there is their smell. The way they feel in our hands, the aesthetics of the cover, the typeface, the binding, the size, all chosen so carefully. And when we are young, the illustrations. The illustrations of a good picture book. Books are good friends. They never judge. They can offer conversation, advice, and entertainment and abate loneliness. They are always available for you. Books let us step into another person's shoes and experience things we wouldn't have otherwise. The wow moments as plots unfold. The experience is happening to you, and you're part of it. Your feelings and thoughts about this help you to get to know yourself better. You also use your creativity as the cinematographer of the scenes you are immersed in new worlds. Books impart new information about any subject that you are interested in. Bill Bryson's The Body, The Biggest Bluff by Maria Konnikova, who learned to be a poker champion, How to End Christian Nationalism by Amanda Tyler, and Anything by Eric Larson, who wrote The Devil in the White City about the World's Fair in Chicago in 1893. Those are a few of the ones I have chosen for pleasure, but you may need to read more technical information to expand your knowledge for your career. Books can motivate you and inspire you. Who hasn't read a biography and been in awe and made a decision to make a change? Self-help books are a low-cost counselor that can help you understand why you are doing what you're doing and can give you ways to change a habit or solve a long-standing problem. Here are some additional benefits of reading, although they aren't necessarily why we love books. Reading is good for your brain. It helps build neural connections and improves your ability to focus and concentrate. You have a more impressive vocabulary. There's personal growth, development of emotional intelligence. You'll be able to think more critically. It lowers stress, and if you listen to audiobooks, it will improve your listening skills. Oh, if you haven't experienced the joy of audiobooks, you are missing out. You've heard the expression of so many books, so little time. With audiobooks, you can multitask. And increasing the amount of time you can read. And they are free with a library card and simply downloading an app on your phone. I'm happy to help you out with this process after the service because I want to share the joy. So why do we love books? Most of all, and quite simply, books bring joy and pleasure. And now it's time for you to share your love of books. If you would like to share, I'm going to ask you to please line up over by the piano. Feel free to join the line at any time. Please share just one book, and then if there's time, you can return to the line and share another. Say the title of the book, the author, and why it means so much to you. And please keep your comments under 2 minutes. I was going to say, there's not a lot of us here today, so I probably don't have to do this, but how many of you think I should set a timer? Because I know you guys. In favor of timer, raise your hand. No one? Okay. Feel free. All right. All right, so we can start. We're going to let a few people go by. I'd already told Peggy. Peggy has a special thing that she would like to share. Peggy, why don't you go ahead and come up? Even though yeah. So Peggy's is going to be a little bit longer, and she has a video to share with it. And you can, when you come up, you can either use the podium or you can use the microphone on the stand, whichever you're most comfortable with. Okay, Peggy.
Do you mind if we turn off the lights for the video?
Been watching the videos.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Before I start, I'm going to cue Darius.
North Africa, 1943. Dearest Jean, making war on a foreign soil is a curious mixture of almost hysterical excitement and mind-dulling boredom. You can frequently hear the clear, high notes of the church bells pealing in the shadows. Its pastoral beauty is hardly appropriate as a setting for war. The cheerful bells and the sound of cannon just don't go together. I know a great many men that are now overseas will be strangers when they return. I'm going to need you very much when I get home. Love, Lud. A Doctor's War. Letters and reflections from the front lines of World War II.
Well, I'm here to share one of my favorite books, which actually I wrote. It took me probably 12 or more years to write this book. I was lucky to find a publisher. And by the way, that was my son who made that book trailer for me. He's a documentary filmmaker, so it's kind of fancy for, you know, most people don't do book trailers, but he did that as a gift for me, so it was wonderful. I'm just going to read a tiny bit from this book. Here's the blurb. A medical officer in the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division on the front lines of World War II, Lieutenant Colonel Major Arthur L. Ludwig Jr. was responsible for the well-being of traumatized and wounded American soldiers through some of the bloodiest engagements in North Africa and Italy. He was awarded both the Purple Heart and the Silver Star, unusual combat commendations for an unarmed medical officer. His letters home detail his experiences with keen observations of the people and landscapes. Based on Ludwig's letters and an archive of interviews, military documents, and photos, this multifaceted narrative compiled by his daughter also tells a story of her discovery of her father as the young man she never knew. And my dad wrote over 300 letters home, all typed to my mom. During the war, they'd been married 2 months, and then he was on the front lines for 2.5 years. and they were separated, obviously. So, I don't know, are there, I just want to read for one more minute. I'm sorry to take so much time. This is 1 year before this is a few months before my dad died. Sitting in the passenger seat, he looked the same as always, eyes straight ahead and quiet alert, subdued, smartly dressed. It was late November and he wore his favorite plaid flannel shirt, blue agate bolo tie, a weathered houndstooth sport coat with tiny Masonic and Rotary Club stick pins in the lapel, all topped off by one of his signature wool caps. I glanced over at him as we approached the bridge spanning the mighty Columbia River in my hometown, Wenatchee, Washington. He knew all too well what was coming. As I reached to squeeze his cool, bony hand, I tried to detect any hint of anger or resentment in his face. His gaze was focused forward, not even glancing at the steel gray ribbon of river underscoring the landscape outside the car window, and silently escorting us to most likely his final home. Against the familiar backdrop of water's powerful and timeless flow, I decided his look seemed more determined than anything else, one I had seen many times before. "Dad," I began, trying to push through the catch in my throat, "you know what this means. Mom just can't take care of you anymore. It's killing her. You're making the ultimate sacrifice. You're saving her life. I'm just so sorry that it's come to this. You're very brave." I'd grown up with the framed black and white photo of my dad during World War II, solemnly standing before Lieutenant General Mark Clark as he was decorated with the Silver Star for gallantry in action. It was an unusual combat commendation for an unarmed medical officer. He had led squadrons of litter carriers up Mount Pantano, Italy, through a curtain of heavy mortar fire during the winter of 1943. His mission was to treat and evacuate the pinned down wounded soldiers from his unit, the 168th Regiment of the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division. He had volunteered to do it, didn't have to, yet made countless trips to retrieve as many wounded men as possible and get them to safety. He would never have ordered someone else to do something he wasn't willing to do himself. He was resolute. This was his nature. He always did what was necessary, despite the danger, unpleasant circumstances, adversity involved. It became the foundation for his definition of success, a phrase I had heard throughout my life. Success is doing something you don't want to do and doing it well. And now here I was driving my 94-year-old father for elective admission to a nursing home. I was indeed doing something I didn't want to do, and I was going to try to do it well. Was that even possible? Dad flashed me a faint smile, nodding. His deeply veined hands clasped in his lap were covered with a warshock of purple and burgundy bruises. As we drove, he compulsively checked his pulse, as he frequently did, and I thought I detected a slight clench in his jaw. This was to be his final front. Okay.
Thank you, Peggy. And I believe Peggy has books that you can purchase, right, Peggy?
What?
You have books that people can purchase? You don't? Okay. No, not today, but...
Oh, they're at the museum.
Okay.
And you can order them at Amazon.
Okay. Good.
And the library.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to know. Okay. Ronnie.
There is not enough room in this building for me to have brought my favorite book. There is no favorite book because they're all wonderful. I was blessed in a family. My dad was an avid reader. And I think that's where I got it. Luckily, my children have all carried that on. And I was the girl who had her on a trip to Wyoming or someplace with my ex-husband. Ronnie, look up, those are the Tetons. because I'm reading the whole time. My mother was not a good reader, and I had the memory for many years, because I'm going to show you where it all started. I kept seeing this picture of a book, and I didn't know where it came from. So I don't know how old I was when she finally let go of this book that she had read to me. And the inside, it's, this should be for you to read to your own wee tot, after having had so much practice reading it to Karen. So this is a little girl that she took care of, that you might enjoy, thought you might enjoy having it. Lots of love and good wishes to you and yours, 1947. And this is where it started. I treasure this so much that I have this, because my parents didn't buy books. They grew up in the Depression, they were frugal, it was expensive. But I'm old enough that I remember the library on Mission Street across from the Liberty 2 Theater, which used to be the Vitaphone. And then when they built the other one, and the newer one, which is the existing one in 1957, I mean, I lived for the library. My parents met at the old library, the Carnegie Building in the Memorial Park, which is now the Apple Blossom office. So those books have played a part. I had another book I wanted to bring because I'm reading right now, All About Love by Bell Hooks. I'm not a nonfiction reader. For me, it was all about escape. And I'm not sure what I was escaping from. I can guess maybe a few things, but I went into a world where people could stand right next to me and talk to me, and I didn't know they were there. And our elementary school didn't have a library. The bookmobile came, and I can remember a couple times they finally learned to stop saying this. Are you sure you should take that many books? And at recess, there'd be 8 or 10 books under my chair, and sometimes I would stay in. I was an avid reader, and there weren't books for young adults like there are now, so I was reading the classics because I needed to keep, get above and beyond where I was. So for me, it has literally been air for my soul. And that quote about children are made readers on the laps of their parents, I started reading to my kids before they were even born. I would read aloud. I read to all of them. My son was 4 when we were reading The Hobbit. He was the youngest. My almost 4-year-old granddaughter has the most amazing vocabulary because we're all reading to her. She now wants to only listen to chapter books. Something you might not know that I learned when I started working at the Wenatchee Library was my last job. In the children's department, yes, we had a lot of trainings, and I learned so much that I had already kind of known instinctively, but you may not know that a picture book has a reading level, a 4th grade reading level. There are words that a child isn't going to read, but words that we read to them that enriches their vocabulary. And again, those neurons, those synapses in your brain. I can't talk enough about how important books are. They create empathy, understanding, knowledge. I know things just from reading fiction that's been well researched. I have a million facts in my head from reading, and I've started to read more nonfiction lately. That book that Rita shared, I was in that same book group that Elizabeth Soley had, Reverend Soley, and the other one was The End of Bias, and it started me on my journey of reading more about race and equity, and has opened my eyes to things I thought I was pretty cool, but I just learned so much, so I'm so appreciative. And yesterday, our library, Friends of the Library, had our book sale, and the joy in people's faces that they could get these beautiful hardback books for $2, kids' books for $1.25 and 10 cents. What a great, I could go on, and I know I could, but I won't. But it's just so important that we read and that we share it with our kids, share it. I've seen so many stories about people going into, say, an assisted living area and reading to people and how it just brings joy to their heart. So anyway, it's all where it began, the little small red hen. And this picture has been in my brain forever.
Yes? There we go. Okay. So I'm Chip Balling, and I do remember Run, Spot, Run. That's about all I remember out of that book. I was never much of a reader. When I was about, I don't know how old I was, 9, 10, something like that, I found a book called, well, no, it was a series of books, so I don't know what the name of the book was, and I don't know who authored it, but his name was Chip Hilton. Yay, Chip Hilton, go Chip Hilton. And it was a middle-aged, you know, he was the basketball star in that. Unfortunately, Chip Hilton disappeared, and what was left was the Hardy Boys. And I didn't like them, so. But I had a teacher who worked with me trying to teach me to read, trying to find something I could read. And because I was an outdoors person, and you know, I was a hunter, and so she got me to read, oh no, what's the name of that book? Wolves. I can't remember the name. Pardon? Call of the Wild. Yep, Call of the Wild. So that got me a little bit started, and then I discovered John Steinbeck, Grapes of Wrath. And I loved that, and I loved The Pearl and The Fisherman and the whole string of them. And after Page passed, we got rid of a lot of stuff, and somebody took almost all of my books, and the whole string of Steinbeck are gone to somebody else. I don't know, maybe down to the library, gone to the book sale. But unfortunately now, when I try to read, I can get about one line, maybe 2 lines before I have to stop and refocus. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that. I know that a couple of other people who had Parkinson's, people that I played pickleball with, and I mentioned that. And they went, oh yes, yeah, we recognize that inability to focus. But my caretaker has been trying to get me to listen to books on tape. So we're going to go this week to go find some books on tape. Thank you.
Since I broke my wrist about 2 months ago, I am determined to study to be a doctor in traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. And of the 15 books that I'm studying right now, this is my absolute favorite. It weighs 5 pounds, so it's multi-purpose. I can use it to help with my exercise on my tricep. And for this book, I know it had helped millions and millions of people. And this book represents 1,007 years of wisdom in traditional Chinese medicine. And I absolutely love it. And this is very valuable.
Anybody else that would like to share? Okay. Well, I hope that you heard something that inspires you to pick up a book. maybe one that was shared or a subject that you want to know more about. Because we as a religious community are committed to social justice, the call to action for this service is to read or listen to a book that will give you a better understanding of a relevant issue. A good place to start is with something you don't understand or feel irritated by, such as white fragility, or maybe homeless encampments. Personally, I have no understanding of our economic system, and that is so frustrating. So maybe I should start there. Where will you start? And now it's time for our offertory. First of all, I want to thank everybody who did share. I really appreciate that. And now it's time for our offertory. This picture shows someone with lots of books to give, but today we are only accepting money in the form of cash, checks, or online donations. There are other ways to give that don't fit into the plate. You can share your time, your expertise, your talents. When we joyfully share our gifts and strengths in service to the greater good, we create the beloved community. We will now receive the offering with music by our own Jim Bryant. We are blessed by your generosity. May your gifts make a difference in our communities through the ministries of this congregation. Thank you. And now, let's sing our closing song, We Shall Be Known. The words will be on the video. And I just wanted to give an extra shout out to Darius today because he's had a lot of work to do with putting all these videos on. So we really appreciate him. Please rise in body or spirit. Remain standing. I'm glad to be known by the company I keep, especially here with this group of so many book lovers. Our benediction words are a quote by Stephen King. Quote, "Books are a uniquely portable magic," unquote. May you experience the magic of books in your life this week and all the days of your life. We will be extinguishing the chalice, but I hope you stay afterwards for coffee and treats and to talk about books with your friends. And now as we extinguish our chalice, please join me in saying the words printed in your order of service or on the screen, but please note that I have added a line. It is in red. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment, or the love of books. These we carry in our hearts and embody in our lives until we are together again. And it's, some of you are new here, it's our tradition to form a circle and sing a closing song. But please stay for coffee afterwards and talk about books.